like the rest of the country, California has been on fire, blazing hot. So when that happens, all I want to do is just stay inside where it's nice and cool and just have a lazy day. But I decided I wanted to get out and do something that would be a good lazy day activity. So I decided to come to the Huntington Gardens and Library. The outdoor area is pretty deserted, which I'm not surprised on hot days like this. I think everyone is where I'm going, which is inside to the art galleries. My first stop is at the Huntington Library, which is right behind me, for an exhibit called Printed in 1085. This is a manuscript that was printed in 1085 during the Song Dynasty in China. This manuscript is nearly 1,000 years old. So let's go in and check it out. Buddhism was introduced to China beginning around 206 BCE. When the Song Dynasty was founded nearly 1,000 years later, Emperor Taizu wanted to collect all the teachings of Buddha to combine into a single canon. The result was the Chongning Canon. This is volume 45 of the 5,000 plus volume. It was printed in 1085 CE, nearly 1,000 years ago. Chinese is read in columns from top to bottom, right to left. The manuscript is in accordion style, but it's meant to be read like a book by turning the pages. It's been opened like this for display purposes. Each owner of a book would add his seal to the first page. Here's what the seals show us on this volume. The barely legible seal is from the Dongchen Temple, the original printer of this volume. There's a grayish seal of the Nonin Zen Temple in Japan that I believe is this section. These two seals have been obliterated for unknown reasons. I'd love to hear that story. This red seal is the Chinese seal of American Richard C. Rudolph, who was the chair of the UCLA Department of Oriental Languages. I believe he acquired it on his first trip to China in 1948-1949, just before the Chinese Communist Revolution. In 1984, he sold it to Bern Dibner, who founded Berndy Engineering Company. Dibner was a rare book collector, but mostly books related to the Western history of science and technology. The Huntington acquired the volume as part of its acquisition of the Berndy Library. My next stop takes me through this fantastic path over to the Shakespeare Garden and to the American Art Gallery. And this has an exhibit from Gee's Bend, Alabama, which I am so excited to see. It's got an amazing historical story behind it. I've taken a short detour through the rose garden. It smells amazing, but you can see that the heat and the late season are taking their toll on these beautiful roses. Still, it hasn't affected the aroma. Oh, so nice. I'm not gonna lie, walking through the sprinkler spray feels really good. I've taken another detour through the herb garden. This is not just a display of herbs, but they actually use them in the restaurants here on the Huntington Library property. So I finally made it over here to the American Art Gallery where they have the Gee's Bend exhibit. So let's go in and take a look. Gee's Bend is a slice of post-Civil War Americana. The 200 or so residents are mostly descendants from the slaves of the Petway plantation. Most of them still have the last name of Petway. They learned to quilt because, as slaves, They were cold, and all they had were scraps of ragged clothing to keep warm. So they took these patches and started making quilts. They passed down the practice from mother to daughter to granddaughter, 5 generations to the present. Gee's Bend is an isolated and was a mostly impoverished town in Alabama. In the late 1990s, art dealer Ben Arnett visited Gee's Bend. Arnett's focus was on artistic works created mostly by untrained African-American artists in the South. He was entranced by the quilts and said that the geometric patterns of the older quilts anticipated the modernist designs of artists like Paul Klee. He bought hundreds of old quilts and began showing them in museums around the country to rave reviews. There's only one quilt in this exhibit. The exhibit is of prints made by pressing the quilts into a wax-coated printing plate that retains the details of the original quilt. There is so much more to see here at the Huntington Library. I am sitting across from the greenhouse where I saw the corpse flower bloom a couple of years ago. There is another library this way that has Kehinde Wiley's portrait of a young gentleman. I did a separate video on that a few years ago. There are the themed gardens. The Chinese gardens are probably my favorite thing to see here. They've got the enchanting Japanese gardens, cactus gardens. There is just so much to see here, and also much more art in both the American Art Gallery and the library that I just didn't have time to cover today. So if you are looking for like a variety of things to do indoors and outdoors, then the Huntington Library is definitely the place to come. I hope this helps you find your adventure. Thank you for watching.